of opposition on the Assembly side and sent one to the committee. I'm not sure why we're not on the analysis, but just very quickly, we have a series of objections with the bill. One is that the expected cost savings is not targeted to either go back into counseling services or assessments, and we would expect that that should be tightened up. We also suggest that the language that came out of the Padilla bill last year, SB 1440, that said something to the effect of it's the intent of the legislature that the requirements contained in AB 743 shall be carried out in the normal course of business and shall not represent any new activities or a higher level of service on the part of community college districts. We are not sure where this funding's coming from. We don't want the state to be on the hook once a funding is found. We have a system in place, and then there's no private funding, and we believe that even though the bill is voluntary, that once we get into a system like this, that the state would be on the hook for additional funding. So we're concerned about the long-term effects. We are not supportive of creating any new programs at this time, given, as Ms. Liu said, our budget free fall. We think we opposed the bill last year. We again oppose it this year. And lastly, our counselors don't believe that one system, one test, given the variety and diversity of the students at community colleges, is effective and could impact the sense of open enrollment, open access that the community colleges currently operate under. So for those reasons, we continue to oppose the bill and ask for your no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses in opposition? Assembly member, would you like to respond to some of the questions that were raised by the representative from CTA?
Sure. The first comment was about where the savings would be used, whether it would go directly to counseling and assessment or to the general community colleges fund. The savings will go to the community college in general, given how badly community colleges have been hurt over the years with our budgets. We think it's important to give them the flexibility. Frankly, they won't need the additional money for assessments because this assessment tool will save money. And while the first comment was, how will the savings be used? The second comment seemed to be that this will cost the state money. In fact, it will save money. It will save a great deal of money down the road. And the bill itself requires that there be receipt of state, federal, or philanthropic funds before this will be put into place.
Good. Are there any other questions by members of the committee? The bill's been moved by Senator Blakesley, and the motion is do pass. Will the secretary? I will take that as your close.
Yes.
Assembly member, will the secretary please call the roll?
Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Huff. Aye. Huff, aye. Liu. Liu, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Smidian. Vargas. Alquist. Alquist, aye. Alquist, aye. 6.
You have sufficient votes for passage, 6 votes, but we're going to place that bill on call for the absent member.
Thank you, Senator.
I think we have one more bill, hopefully, just one more, Senator.
Yes, this is it for today. AB 790.
Not that they have not been very interesting bills.
AB 795 deals with campus smoking policy enforcement. As one who's worked on campuses for many years, Senator, I'm sure you've shared the experience when you walk out of a campus building, sometimes you have to walk through a cloud of smoke. Right. So you may ask, well, why aren't there policies that prohibit students, faculty, visitors from smoking right next to the entrance of a campus building? The answer is there are. And Senator Vargas, as an assembly member, passed a law that specifically prohibited smoking within 20 feet of an entrance or an open window. Unfortunately, that bill did not include an enforcement provision. What AB 795 does is it provides a provision to enforce existing law through a fine of no more than $100. It would give the community colleges, the CSU, and the UC that ability. And by adding this enforcement language, we not only can enforce the law, or Mr. Vargas' law, as to students, but also as to faculty and staff. Right now, some campuses enforce as to students through their judicial procedures with academic punishments, which we think are way out of line with a smoking violation. We think a fine is a much more appropriate penalty. Right now, there are not penalties in campuses for faculty or visitor violations. So this will just make an important policy effective. It will protect, frankly, the health of campus members and visitors to campus. And I have witnesses here who will attest to that.
I have one question before we go to the witnesses in support. As someone who was the previous chair in a previous life, along with my vice chair, Senator Huff, of transportation, every time we passed an enforcement or a penalty bill, for example, of $100, when you get the ticket, it ends up being $700. I want to, because we have all these add-ons, and so I want to be real clear that what we're talking about, if you're giving the schools the ability to collect these fines, that we're talking about $100, and that at least we know what we're voting on, and people don't get back to us and said, how come I had a fine of $500? And we said, oh, we just never mentioned the add-ons that go on. So I need to hear from you directly that we're not talking about add-ons.
Yeah, this bill empowers a campus to collect a fee of no more than $100 for each violation. There are no additional court costs or any other kind of costs added to this.
Okay, at least it stands on its own. I'm not saying everybody's going to support, but at least we know what we will be supporting or not supporting, which frequently we don't know when we do transportation measures. With that, witnesses in support.
Hi. My name is Ron Levine. I'm Chief of Police of the Foothill De Anza Community College District, and we are in support of this bill. The cities and counties where our colleges reside all have these ordinances, and we don't, and we see this as a very positive step forward. Obviously, we have the health concerns, and these types of complaints come into our agency all the time, and we virtually have nothing we can do about it. So we see this as a way of gaining compliance throughout the colleges, and we see this as another tool in our toolbox. And this would be an administrative fee, and this would not be going through the courts. So we see this as just a little less than an actual judicial type
My
thing.
question to you then is, if you're saying this is an administrative fees, and it doesn't go through the courts and there are no add-ons, at least through the courts there's due process. Are we going to will students have due process in this?
My understanding is it would be a due process. It would be very similar to a parking citation where you have an appeals process.
Okay. I mean, I want to make sure that we're just not, eliminating some way of people to contest the actual fine. They weren't smoking, it was the person behind them smoking. Yes. Other witnesses in support.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kimberly White-Cruchet, and on behalf of the American Lung Association in California, we are very pleased to be a sponsor of AB 795. This measure essentially is just an additional tool for colleges and universities so that they can enforce campus smoking policies. From a public health perspective, we know that secondhand smoke is not just a nuisance, but a toxic air contaminant and a potential health concern for many, especially on campuses, whether you're a student, faculty member, or a visitor. So essentially, AB 795 will provide administrators and campus enforcement agencies with the appropriate tools so they can take steps to keep students safe and away from that kind of exposure. For those reasons, we respectfully ask for your aye vote today.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support.
Alicia Sanchez with the American Cancer Society in support.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Thank you, Mark McDonald, McCallum Group, on behalf of the Glendale, Peralta, Los Rios, Mount San Jacinto, and San Diego Community College districts. And I would echo the remarks of the author. All of the districts I mentioned and most of the other districts have smoking policies and designated areas where students can smoke and where students aren't allowed to smoke. The problem is that those policies, quite frankly, aren't followed, and the issue is enforcement. We've had cases where campuses have passed out warnings, passed out minor citations that have no real enforcement behind them, and as you can imagine, it doesn't alleviate the problem. This will give us a tool in order to enforce our policies, and we'd appreciate an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, Brendan Tuig on behalf of the American Heart Association in support.
Mr. Chairman, Bonnie Slauson, representing the Community College League. The League does support this measure. We believe that it's a viable tool that help our colleges enforce their policies. As Mr. McDonald did mention, our colleges have these policies, but they don't have the tools to enforce the policies, and this will help them with that activity. We urge an aye vote.
Ryan Spencer with the California Medical Association in support.
Michelle McKay Underwood on behalf of San Bernardino Community College District in strong support.
Are there any witnesses in opposition?
Senator Lowenthal, I'd move the bill.
Bill's been moved by Senator Hancock. Do pass as amended.
As amended.
Would you like to close?
I just urge your aye vote.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Huff. Huff, aye. Lou. Aye. Lou, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Semidion. Vargas.
I believe the vote is 7-0, sufficient for passage, but we're going to place that bill on call.
Thank you, Senator. It's been a pleasure doing business
It's
with
been
you.
a pleasure visiting you with you. I think there's been a deal worked out among the Assembly. The Senate's the last to know about who is going to be going next. So whoever shows up, welcome, Assembly member. So we do know who shows up.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the indulgence of my colleagues, and I appreciate
That's just fine. And we're talking about item number, I think it's, is it 31? 31?
31.
So item 31 is AB 1034.
Yes.
Which is a measure that would ensure California's charter schools continue to serve a diverse pool of students. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the chair and committee staff for the amendments suggested in the analysis. I'm happy to take them. Just for the record, these amendments would delete the requirement in the bill that charter schools collect information on the student population. Second, the second amendment would authorize the chartering authority to permit admission preferences on an individual school basis, provided that the preferences are approved in a public hearing, and only to the extent that they ensure students with disabilities, academically low-achieving pupils, English learners, and low-income students who are eligible for free and reduced price meals will be served. So again, I'm happy to accept those amendments.
Thank you. They will be accepted as author's amendments.
Thank you. So AB 1034 is simple. This bill simply requires charter schools to not have admission requirements as public schools. Charter schools, I'd like to remind everybody, are public schools. There have been some practices out there where we have reports of charter schools requiring parents to pay money. We have reports of charter schools out there requiring parents to commit to volunteer hours. And I think that's problematic for people who might be single mothers or single fathers. And I also think it violates the very, very basic precept that a charter school is a public school, funded by public money, and should therefore accept all comers. This bill preserves charter schools as laboratories of innovation, whose lessons can help us with all schools. But and I also want to say it's not to say that all charter schools are guilty of these activities, but we want to make sure that we have a school environment out there where all students and all parents feel comfortable to have their kids attend a public school. And with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seth Bramble on behalf of the California Teachers Association in strong support. Charter schools certainly were established in part to be laboratories of innovation with a focus on low-achieving students. Some trends, not only in the bill analysis but reflected in research throughout the country, show certain populations not being served to the same degree, those being special education, those receiving reduced free and reduced lunch services and English language learners. So certainly those amendments address some of that. In terms of what causes perhaps a population not being served to the same extent, there's kind of two pieces to it. And one is screening on the way in, and the other is counseling out on the way out. And this bill really focuses on the screening piece of it and requiring that a charter school be made available to any student who wants to go to that school. CTA supports the elimination of discrimination in both policies and in practice. Admission requirements at charter schools constitute one of those barriers, and CTA is in strong support.
Mr. Chairman and members, Brian Rivas on behalf of the California School Boards Association. We're in support of the measure. We think it'll make admissions and enrollment of charter schools at charter schools more transparent. It'll help authorizers to hold charter schools accountable to make sure that they're accessible to any student who wants to attend.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Harold Boyd, United Teachers Los Angeles. We have the same concern. We'd like to see really students that are being served by the charter schools. We want to make sure that everybody has a fair opportunity to attend. We support the bill.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Joshua Golka with the California School Employees Association in support.
Other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? They're still in opposition. Let's see where they are.
Mr. Chair and members, Rand.
Can you put that on, Rand?
Somebody turn it on. Oh. Rand Martin on behalf of the California Charter Schools Association. First off, there are certain situations that the author has mentioned here and in the past that we agree with are actions by bad actors. That does not necessarily justify changing law wholesale that ultimately has a negative impact on other charter schools, most charter schools that are doing a terrific job. We do appreciate the amendments.
I would mention the amendments, though.
I was just
try
going
to preserve that balance, allow charter schools that have, admission preferences on an individual school basis to be balanced against really making sure that it does not impact and they will also not discriminate against certain students. And so we've tried in the amendments to deal with it. I'd like to know how the amendments affect your opposition.
Mr. Chair, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say we appreciate the amendments that the committee analysis offered and that the author has accepted. We think they move in the direction. Of course, we'll need to see the actual language. Hopefully, we'll be able to remove our opposition on those two issues. I do want to say that there is one remaining issue that still needs to be resolved. That is the deletion of admission requirements as one of the 16 elements of the petition. I'm not sure that people understand exactly the purpose of the petition. The petition is actually the program that the charter school is giving to the school district for the school district to consider whether to accept that charter school, accept that petition or not. So including admission requirements in there is a way for the charter school to educate the school district about the policy and practices they want to engage in terms of that part of their petition. Removing it, we think, leaves open a couple of major problems. One is that it's sort of wild, wild west at that point because there's no law relative to admissions requirements. And it may be, unfortunately, litigated, which is never a path that we want to go down. I have talked to the Assembly members' staff about that. It may be more a question of the words that are used rather than the inclusion of the element in the petition. I hope that the Assemblyman would be willing to continue talking about how we write that as opposed to deleting it altogether. I don't think it's appropriate to have that piece taken out of the petition. I don't think we want that piece to not have the public scrutiny that the petition process would allow. And so if we can work out that piece of it, we may be able to remove our opposition based on the other amendments as well.
Thank you. Other witnesses in opposition?
Eric Premack with the Charter Schools Development Center. I have not seen the amendments either. As I understand them, they would require a holding of a hearing right now, current law already requires holding a public hearing to consider a charter petition, and one of the required elements is listing any admission requirements you want. So whether this law would add something new, if it does what is described in these amendments, it may be simply redundantly restating what the law already requires. We do look forward to seeing the amendments.
We look forward to you seeing them also. Other witnesses in opposition? Bring it back. I think, for me, with these amendments, I think it strikes a reasonable balance. I think it meets your needs in ensuring that these students are, that students with English learners, low-income students, that they're going to be eligible and they will be not discriminated against in that, but yet it allows in those petitions to balance, to make, at least to identify that there still may be certain kinds of admission preferences based upon the unique educational mission of that charter school.
Sure, and I'm happy to work with a good gentleman and anybody else too.
Thank you, and I want to compliment you. You've come you've worked very well with our committee.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Yeah.
Pick one. All right, I'm picking Senator Price, who is the mover of the day. Would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your vote.
And do pass as amended. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. No. Huff, no. Lou. Lou, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Semidian. Vargas. 5-1.
We have 5 votes. We're going to place the bill on call for the absent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly, Assembly Member. Next.
Furutani and Campos are the last two.
Furutani. Welcome, Assembly Member Furutani.
Thank you very much, Chairman Lowenthal. Members of the Senate Education Committee, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First of all, I accept the committee's suggested amendments to add a sunset to this bill. AB 751
They will be accepted as committee amendments, as author's amendments.
AB 751 provides a more realistic and responsible context for school districts that are expected to craft 3-year budgets. The present economic recession has created a volatile state budget situation in which revenues are not predictable and estimates are unreliable. In essence, the numbers we're dealing with that extend beyond the current fiscal year are wild guesses. This year is a perfect example as schools are waiting to hear if they will face severe cuts next year or not. Is it fair to ask schools to project their expenditures for 3 years from now when they don't even know what their funding is for next year? Is it fair to force them to make adjustments now in order to have balanced budgets 3 years from now? AB 751 makes minor modifications to existing AB 1200, the AB 1200 process. One, for schools that are in a qualified status, this bill will distinguish those schools that are qualified solely because of the 3rd year budget projection. 2, if budget actions are being taken today in an effort to avoid qualified status 2 years from now, then those actions should be discussed separately at a regularly scheduled board meeting. And 3, school districts may opt out of doing the budget for the 3rd year if approved by the County Office of Education and the Superintendent of Public Instruction. I believe these are reasonable allowances for school districts that are struggling to balance 3-year budgets. AB 751 is supported by the California Federation of Teachers, San Diego Unified School District, and we have Virginia Strong Martin from the LA Unified to testify. I urge your aye vote.
Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Virginia Strong Martin on behalf of LA Unified School District, and we'd like to thank Assemblymember Furutani for taking on this task. This is really a very modest and we believe reasonable remedy to AB 1200's 3-year balanced budget requirement for districts. And it arose out of extreme frustration on the part of LAUSD's Board of Education over their continuing to attempt over the last 3 years to, quote, read the tea leaves concerning the state's fiscal health while diligently planning for the district's future. LAUSD has cut $1.5 billion since 2008-09 school year. 10,746 classified employees have been laid off or seen their wages, hours, or status reduced. 5,000 teachers have been laid off. 12 to 18 furlough days, depending upon our bargaining unit, have been taken by our employees. 717 management positions have been eliminated. Class sizes, of course, continue to grow. Support staff will continue to shrink, and students are now paying the price. We have done everything in our power to produce a budget that reflects the times that we are in. Despite making cuts 78% above the average district. AB 751, as amended, again, we think is a reasonable solution for districts attempting to balance budgets with very little predictability and a lot of unreliability from one fiscal year to the next. The oversight of the County Office of Education would continue as usual. The change would only authorize the SPI, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, to waive the third year of self-certification under certain conditions outlined in the bill and provide some relief for districts who are meeting their financial obligations and who are not truly at risk of insolvency. And I'd like to say that as of June 15th, as you know, the Superintendent of Public Instruction has come out with his new list. And there are now 143 schools, districts.
I'm only going to ask you to. We're being evicted from this room. Oh. It's really in 5 minutes. So let's move. Let's go. And it's not because of the quality of your presentation. It's just that Health Committee now has this room at this moment, and they're evicting us. So.
Understand completely. At any rate, the qualified list has grown substantially, and making it harder for districts to establish and maintain credit if we're on that qualified list, not to mention vendors going to the market for cash borrowing purposes. And also NPR this morning, I heard the first thing on NPR was that 143 districts in the state of California are now facing insolvency. This is also a public perception problem for districts around the state. So we would urge your aye vote on this measure.
Thank you. We're not at all aware of the economic crisis. Yes.
Monica Nestrosa on behalf of San Diego Unified School District. We're strongly in support of AB 751. I'll just mention two things.
Two things quickly, because we're not going to vote on the bill.
Won't vote on the bill. The first is that budget plans, as Mr. Furutani said, are only good as the information that it is based on. That includes not only the revenue assumptions, but also fiscal policy. Those are two things that are changing. And so I'll just leave it at one for that reason.
Thank
and
you.
others we support.
Other witnesses in support.
Pam Bachilla on behalf of the San Francisco Unified School District in support for the reasons previously stated.
Or should have been stated, but the chair wouldn't let them be
Harold
stated.
Boyd, United Teachers Los Angeles, in support of the bill for the same reason.
Other witnesses in support, witnesses in opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Michael Hulsizer here today on behalf of the California County Superintendents. Regretfully, we remain in opposition to the bill. Before I get into those reasons, one thing I want to make very clear, and I think I speak on behalf of every organization that's opposed to this bill, we share the concerns of Mr. Furutani and all of the proponents of this bill of what the real problem is, which is that schools have had to reduce services dramatically, programs and staff, and we join them in saying that that's the problem. Our concern with this bill is that we think it focuses on, or it creates a problem that doesn't exist. The system of oversight and monitoring school business budgets, better known as the AB 1200 system that's been in place since 1992, has been marvelously successful. And unfortunately, this bill is arguing, in our judgment, it makes an assumption that the problem is that school districts are being forced to reduce services and programs and staff beyond what they really should be. And unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that county superintendents and the superintendents and school officials who are represented in opposition just don't share that belief. The problem is they have to make those cuts, and they've made those cuts necessarily. The system of oversight, and specifically the issue that this bill deals with, which is multi-year projections and addressing deficit spending, is at the center of why our system has been successful of oversight. We have had over 25% of the school districts in this state since 1992 at some point in fiscal distress. Only a handful of those districts have come to you for a loan. And that's because we've been successful at intervening and preventing those districts from going too far and getting to a point where they run out of cash. Our concern is that this bill will begin to compromise that system, and for that reason, we regretfully have to oppose it.
Thank you. Other witnesses in opposition? Again, try to just add new material because we're under great constraints.
Sandy Silverstein, representing Riverside County Office of Education, as well as the 23 district superintendents in the county, and we also oppose the bill. We think the current system protects us. It gives us knowledge we need to make sure we stay fiscally solvent. We don't want to see it eroded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis Myers, California Association of School Business Officials, also in opposition.
Thank you, Dennis.
Michelle McKay Underwood on behalf of the Monterey County Office of Education, and we would echo the comments already made in our opposition.
Thank you.
Erica Hoffman on behalf of the California School Boards Association. We've got one of those nice little tweener positions. We've got an oppose unless amended. We understand where the author is trying to go with this measure. What we would propose instead is that districts still adopt their budget reflecting the 3 years. However, for the financial issues under AB 1200, they only look at the 2 years. So that would be possibly a suggestion we can continue to talk with the author's office about. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other witnesses? First Assembly member, would you like to respond to any of the questions? Well, first, are there any questions of members?
Well, I'd like to hear the answer to what
I would like
we
you then
just heard.
if you would like to respond to some of the opposition about, while it is true that we have tremendous, and as you rightfully pointed out, the ability, school districts don't know what's going to happen in a week or 2 weeks, let alone 2 to 3 years. And it's literally 2 weeks they don't know what's going to happen. Yet on the other hand, we give up something that has been a safeguard and has allowed people to the county office, to help school districts as they move forward. And so there's a balance there somewhere.
And I think the balance, Senator, is looking at those school districts that are having difficulty or are going to be in qualified status. They will definitely get the attention they need and will be watched. In the particular case with LA Unified and other school districts, the situation is they are not qualified in qualified status.
Right.
Having that third year starts making them having to make determination on cuts and things based upon faulty information at best. So it is a bit of a tweener in terms of what we're trying to do with 751 to make sure that those that are having trouble continue to be watched and monitored. Those that aren't don't get burdened with this third-year budget that really isn't anything of any consequence relative to hard numbers. So somewhere in between, with the fail-safe system of having the county superintendents having to okay the situation of not having the third-year budget, also the superintendent of public instruction, I think it provides the checks and balance that will continue.
And
the
I think
safety.
also very, very important now is that you accept, and you have accept the committee amendments to sunset as of June 30th, 2015, so at least by that time to see where we are and how much we've stabilized this situation, because we realize that we are giving up something, but I think it's providing us with I think you've said there are enough protections, and it allows us not to place school districts in jeopardy and difficulty now as we go forward. So are there any other questions? If not, is there a motion on the bill? Bill's been moved by Senator Vargas. Do pass as amended.
Thank you.
Would you like to close?
I urge and I vote. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Lowenthal?
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner? Alquist? Alquist, aye. Blakesley? No. Blakesley, no. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. Lou? Lou, aye. Price? Aye. Price, aye. Semidian? Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. You have 16.
You have 6 votes sufficient for passage, but we're going to place it on call for the absent member. We have one last bill to present, and then we'll do the consent calendar, and then we'll open the roll, and then we'll have lunch.
Thank you, Senator, and I will try to make this as brief as possible. An apprenticeship is a combination
Excuse me, Assembly Member. We're talking about, for all the members here, item number 29, AB 848.
Thank
You
you.
may proceed.
An apprenticeship is a combination of on-the-job training and related supplemental instruction in which workers can learn the practical and theoretical aspects of the building trades craft. Each state approves apprenticeship programs must have a formal agreement with a local education agency, while some 2-year colleges offer credit for the education received in the apprenticeship program. The number of colleges offering the credits is not readily accessible. This bill would provide data identifying how each college provides credit for apprenticeship. This bill will allow for improvement and uniformity in credit allocation. I have Cesar Diaz here to testify.
Witnesses in support.
Mr. Chair, Member Cesar Diaz on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. We're the sponsors of this bill. There is diversity amongst the apprenticeship programs. There are about 200 or so building and construction trades programs across the state. Some of them are partnered with community colleges, some with K-12 institutions. A lot of them have a lot of rigor and academic benefit to them. We just want to make sure that we're collecting the data so that we're all informed about college credit being available to our apprentices. For those reasons, we urge your support.
Other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? See if she can come back. She can come back.
Mr. Chairman, members, Richard Markison, representing today the Associated Builders and Contractors, the Western Electrical Contractors Association, and the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of California. We have no objection to the reporting requirement for the programs that are affiliated with the community college of reporting that information, but as Mr. Diaz pointed out, there are many programs in California that are not affiliated with a community college district. They are affiliated with a different LEA. For instance, our programs are affiliated with a local office of county office of education. We do not offer credit for an associate degree. The bill still requires us to not only on an annual basis report, in essence, 0 credits for these programs that are not affiliated with a community college, but the bill also requires what would appear to be in perpetuity reporting, because it obligates programs to report the progression towards a degree for journey level, in other words, graduates of an apprenticeship program. It obligates us to continue to report even after they've left our program if they are making progress towards an undergraduate degree. We don't think that's appropriate. If the program is affiliated with a community college, it certainly makes sense for them to provide that information. The other programs shouldn't have to be obligated to report.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses in opposition? Assembly member, would you like to respond to the
I'm going to ask
issue that was raised by
he brings up his concerns, and we addressed them internally, but I'll have Cesar Diaz address that publicly.
Mr. Chair, the reason for having a partnership with a local education agency is just because it's the status of the law. That's what's required of the apprenticeship programs. That does not necessarily mean that the curriculum that's being taught at that K through 12 partnered program doesn't stand the academic rigor that would actually suffice for college credit. So while we know that it is a different type of partnership, we believe that apprentices enrolled in those programs should also be on having the opportunity to enter a community college and receive AA credit. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the bill? Senator Vargas moves the bill. Is there any other member? If not, the bill's been moved by Senator Vargas. Do pass. Would you like to close, Assembly member?
Senators, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner, Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. No. Blakesley, no. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. No. Huff, no. Lou. Aye. Lou, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Semidion. Vargas. Vargas, aye.
How many votes?
6-2.
That bill has 6 votes, sufficient for passage, but we're going to place it on call and now go through.
Thank you.
Now we're going to do the proposed consent calendar. Item number 7, 12, 13, 17, 19, 20, 22, 23, and 33. Is there a motion on the consent calendar? Senator Liu moves the consent calendar. Secretary, please call.
Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. Aye. Huff, aye. Liu. Liu, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Smidian. Smidian, aye. Vargas. Aye. Vargas, aye. We have 9.
We have 9 votes. The consent calendar has been passed. Okay, we're going to open the roll on the items that are on call, and then we're going to adjourn the meeting. Okay.
You want me to call the item?
Yeah, I'll identify the item, and then we'll announce how the chair voted. The vice chair, unfortunately, is not here. Item number 1, AB 2.
Do pass to rules. We need a motion on that.
Oh, we need a motion on this because that was before we had.
I move. Alquist.
Alquist moves it.
Ready? Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. No. Huff, no. Liu. Aye. Liu, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Smidian. Smidian, aye. Vargas. Aye. Vargas, aye. 8-1.
The bill has 8 votes. That bill is out. The next one is AB 9, Assemblymember Amiano, Pupils' Rights Bullying. We have a motion because it was still a subcommittee. The bill's been moved by Senator Hancock. Do pass. Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay. Do pass to appropriations. Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. No. Blakesley, no. Hancock.
And I would like to be added as a co-author as the bill moves forward.
Well, I don't think there were amendments today.
Hancock,
but
aye.
It's going to approve.
Yeah.
Hancock, aye. Huff. No. Huff, no. Liu. Liu, aye. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Smidian. Smidian, aye. Vargas. Aye. Vargas, aye. 7-2.
Bill has 7 votes. The bill is out. The next one is
Item 3.
item number 3, AB 25, Assemblymember Hayashi, and the present vote, and that's do pass to rules. Present vote is
7-0.
7-0.
Chair voting aye. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Runner. Huff. Aye. Huff, aye. It's 9-0.
Bill has 9 votes. The bill is out. Next bill is AB 124.
No, item 4.
Oh, item number 4, I'm sorry. Assemblymember Portantino. Again, we heard that bill was a subcommittee. Is there a motion on that bill? Bill's been moved by Senator Alquist. Secretary, please call the roll.
Motion is do pass to appropriations. Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. Aye. Huff, aye. Liu. Liu. Price. Aye. Price, aye. Smidian. Smidian, aye. Vargas. Aye. Vargas, aye. 8.
Bill has 8 votes. That bill is out. Next one is
Item 5.
item number 5, AB 124, Assemblymember Fuentes.
The motion is do pass as amended to rules. Chair voting aye. Runner. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. No. Huff, no. Smidian. Smidian, aye. Vargas. Aye. Vargas, aye. 8-1.
Bill has 8 votes. That bill is out. Next bill is item number 6, Senator Cedillo, AB 131.
The motion is do pass to appropriation. The chair voting aye. Runner. Blakesley. No. Blakesley, no. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff. No. Huff, no. Price. Aye. Price, aye. 7-2.
That bill has 7 votes. That bill is out now. Shall we go to back? Because the next one is
Item 8.
Item number, the consent calendar.
Oh, you want to go?
Let's go to the consent, which is item number 7, so people are
We
doing.
voted that out already. The consent calendar.
Has the consent calendar been totally voted out?
Yes, 9-0.
Okay, 9-0, so we're going to skip over item number 7. It's on the consent calendar. Item number 8, AB 189, Eng.
Motion is due pass to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Runner? Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley? No. Blakesley, no. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. 7-2.
Bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. The next bill is item number 9, AB 199, Assemblymember Ma and Assemblymember Cook.
Right. Due pass as amended to the floor. The chair voting aye. Runner? Blakesley? Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? Aye. Huff, aye. Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Semidian? Aye. Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. 9-0.
Bill has 9 votes. The bill is out. Next is item number 10, AB 200, Hayashi.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Runner? Blakesley? Aye. Blakesley, aye. Huff? Aye. Huff, aye. 9-0.
9-0. That bill is out. Next bill is item number 11, AB 202, Brownlee.
The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Chair voting aye. Vice Chair, Runner? Blakesley? Aye. Blakesley, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Semidian? Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. 8-0.
8-0. That bill is out. Item 12 and 13 are on the consent calendar, so let's go to item number 14, AB 316, Brownlee.
The motion is due pass to judiciary. The chair voting aye. Runner? Blakesley? No. Blakesley, no. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Semidian? Aye. Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. 7-2.
That bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. Next, AB 402, Skinner.
The motion is due pass to Human Services. Chair voting aye. Runner? Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley? Aye. Blakesley, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. Lou? Lou, aye. Price? Aye. Price, aye. Semidian? Aye. Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. It's 8-1.
Bill has 8 votes. That bill is out. Item number 16, AB 440, was pulled at the request of the author. Item number 17, AB 478, is on consent. Item number 18, AB 620, block.
The motion is due pass to judiciary. Chair voting aye. Runner? Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Blakesley? No. Blakesley, no. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. Lou? Lou, aye. Semidian? Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. 7-2.
Bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. Items number 19 and 20 are on consent. Item number 21, AB 684, Assemblymember Block.
The motion is due pass as amended to elections and constitution amendments. Chair voting aye. Runner? Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? Aye. Huff, aye. Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Semidian? Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. You have 9.
That bill has 9 votes. That bill is out. The next two, item number 22 and 23, are on consent. So we move to item number 24, AB 743, Assemblymember Block.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Runner? Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Semidian? Aye. Semidian, aye. Vargas? Aye. Vargas, aye. 9.
Bill has 9 votes. That bill is out. Next, item number 25, AB 751, Furutani.
The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations.
Excuse me, Mr.
voting
Chairman.
aye.
Yes.
Through the chair. Could I ask for you to review where we ended up on amendments on this item?
We did the, I believe on that, we did the, we sunset till 2015, I believe, on that bill. Let me see if we did anything else. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Again, item number 25, AB 751, as amended.
Due pass as amended to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Semidian? 6-2.
That bill has 6 votes. That bill is out. Next bill is AB 795, block.
The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Runner, Semidion.
Aye.
Semidion, aye. Vargas.
Aye.
Vargas, aye. 9.
Bill has 9 votes. That bill is out. Next bill, AB 835, Mitchell.
The motion is due pass as amended to the floor. Chair voting aye. Runner, Alquist. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Huff. Huff, no. Lou. Lou, aye. Semidion.
Aye.
Semidion, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. 8-1.
Bill has 8 votes. That bill is out. Next bill is AB 844, Lara.
The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations.
No,
Or
no, we need a motion. That was offered. The bill is moved by Senator Alquist. It's due pass as amended.
Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Runner, Alquist. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Blakesley, no. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Huff. Huff, no. Lou. Lou, aye. Price. Price, aye. Semidion. Semidion, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. 7-2.
Bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. Next bill is item number 29, AB 848, Campos.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Semidion.
Aye.
Semidion, aye. 7-2.
Bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. Item number 30, AB 925 by Assemblymember Lara was pulled at the request of the author. Next item is item number 31, AB 1034.
The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. The chair voting aye. Runner. Blakesley. No. Blakesley, no. Semidion. Semidion, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. 7-2.
Bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. Next, item number 32, AB 1163, Brownlee.
The motion is due pass as to appropriations. Excuse me. Chair voting aye. Runner. Alquist. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Blakesley, aye. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Huff. Huff, aye. Lou. Lou, aye. Semidion. Semidion, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. 9-0.
The bill has 9 votes. That bill is out. Item number 33 was on consent. And our final item, members, AJR 10, item number 34, school-based health centers.
The motion is due pass to the floor. Chair voting aye. Runner. Alquist. Alquist, aye. Blakesley. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Huff. Huff, no. Lou. Lou, aye. Semidion. Semidion, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. 7-1.
Bill has 7 votes. That bill is out. Members, this committee is adjourned.